Hi, I'm Michael Foster, and this is the story of how a big betrayal turned into one of my greatest victories. In life, whether in business or family, the person you trust most can sometimes be the one plotting against you, but they often forget to watch their own steps before trying to knock you down. Let me take you back to where it all began. Foster Technologies, now a $100 million company, wasn't always a success. 15 years ago, it was a struggling IT consulting firm my dad had built from scratch. My dad was a genius with technology but not great at running the business. By 2010, the company was 3 months from bankruptcy, and my dad's health was failing from the stress. At 25, I was fresh out of business school. My older brother, James, was 30 and well-known in the local nightlife scene. Dad always preferred James, the charming firstborn who could talk his way out of anything, but charm doesn't pay the bills, and James's party lifestyle had already cost us some major clients. I'll never forget the rainy Tuesday when I found Dad slumped at his desk, looking defeated. "It's over, Michael," he said, tears in his eyes. "Everything I built, I'm going to lose it all." Hearing that broke something in me. I couldn't let my father's dream die, even if he never saw me as his first choice. While James was out spending company money at fancy clubs, I stepped up. I worked 18-hour days, learned every part of the business, and personally met with clients. My mom worried about me. "Michael, you need to rest," she'd say, bringing me food late at night, but I knew I had to do this. The first year was tough. I cut unnecessary costs, including James's entertainment expenses, and restructured our debts. I even went back to clients we'd lost, often getting the door slammed in my face, but I didn't give up, and by the end of the year, the company was breaking even. James thought it was a joke. Look at little Mikey playing businessman. He'd mock whenever he bothered to show up. Dad's still going to put me in charge. I'm the oldest. I ignored him and stayed focused. Over the next 5 years, I transformed Foster Technologies from a small IT firm into a full-service digital transformation company. We developed our own software solutions, expanded into cloud services, and earned a strong reputation in the industry. The company grew rapidly. From $2 million in revenue, we climbed to $10 million, then $50 million, and finally hit the $100 million mark last year. Our team expanded from just 20 employees to over 500, and we opened offices in 3 countries. As the company flourished, Dad's health improved, but his favoritism toward James didn't change. He credited every success to James's leadership, even though James spent most of his time planning vacations. At family dinners, Dad would praise James's business sense, while I quietly reviewed quarterly reports on my phone. I didn't care about getting the credit. My focus was on the company, its employees, and the legacy we were creating. Besides, I had my own plans. What nobody knew, not even my father, was that I had been keeping detailed records over the years. I documented every poor decision James made, every client he drove away, and every dollar he wasted. At the same time, I built strong relationships with our key clients, making myself essential to their businesses. I also had another secret. During the company's most challenging days, when we were near bankruptcy, I had used my own savings and taken out personal loans to keep us afloat. In return, I received shares, lots of shares. The paperwork was buried in the company's files, but I legally owned 40% of Foster Technologies. I thought this was enough to protect my position. I couldn't have been more wrong. Last month, Dad announced his retirement. Everyone assumed he would name me as his successor. After all, I had been running the company for years. Even James had been showing up to work more often, likely sensing a big change was coming. The shareholders' meeting was scheduled for Friday afternoon, with all key stakeholders, board members, and investors present. I prepared a detailed presentation outlining our growth strategy for the next 5 years. When the meeting began, Dad stood up to make the big announcement. I noticed James smirking in his seat, but I brushed it off, focusing on the moment I had been waiting for. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dad started, "as you know, I am retiring as CEO of Foster Technologies. This company has been my life's work, and choosing my successor was not an easy decision." He paused, scanning the room. "But there is only one person who truly embodies the leadership qualities needed to take Foster Technologies to the next level, someone who understands our family values and has the vision to lead us into the future." I straightened in my seat, ready to step into the role I had worked so hard for. "My son, James Foster, will be taking over as CEO, effective immediately." The room fell silent. It felt like a punch in the gut. Before I could process what was happening, Dad continued. Furthermore, James has brought to my attention some concerning irregularities in our recent operations. It appears certain individuals have been making unauthorized decisions and potentially compromising the integrity of our company. James stood, holding a folder, and said, I'm afraid my brother Michael has been operating outside his authority, making promises to clients we can't keep, and possibly engaging in unethical practices. I was stunned. Every word was a lie, twisting my efforts to save and grow the company into accusations of recklessness. As my final act as CEO, Dad said, I am terminating Michael's employment with Foster Technologies, effective immediately. Security guards approached my chair. James, feigning sympathy, added, I'm sorry it had to end this way, little brother, but hey, maybe now you can get a life outside the office. The room erupted in whispers. Some faces showed pity, others satisfaction. My key card was deactivated, and I was escorted out, stripped of everything I had built. But James had overlooked 3 critical facts. First, all those so-called unauthorized decisions were properly documented and approved. The subsidiary I had quietly built over the years. The document clearly stated that I owned 100% of Foster Innovation Labs and, with it, all of the intellectual property that powered Foster Technologies. Without it, the company was essentially a shell. James stared at the paper, his face pale. This can't be legal, he stammered. Oh, it's very legal, Sarah said with a calm smile. Michael ensured every step was above board. Perhaps you should have paid more attention to the geek stuff. Just then, the door opened, and 2 federal agents stepped inside. James Foster, one of them announced, you're under arrest for insider trading, corporate espionage, and fraud. James's face crumpled. He turned to Sarah, begging, call Dad, get me out of this. Sarah's polite smile didn't waver. I think your father is a little preoccupied at the moment. Downstairs, Dad was pacing the lobby as the board reviewed the leaked evidence. For years, he had ignored my contributions and turned a blind eye to James's shortcomings. But now, the truth was impossible to ignore. As James was led out in handcuffs, Sarah sent me a final text, it's done. I leaned back in my chair, taking a deep breath. The storm outside had started to clear. Foster Technologies would likely survive the fallout, but it would never be the same. As for me, I had already moved my next big project under Foster Innovation Labs. Sometimes, betrayal clears the path for better opportunities. For the first time in years, I felt free. The sweetest victories aren't just about proving others wrong, they're about reclaiming what's yours and building something even better. When you ignored my warnings, was I family when you let James take credit for my work? Or when you stood by while he sabotaged everything I built? Dad looked down, unable to meet my eyes. Mom sobbed quietly, clutching her tissue like it was a lifeline. But I'm not like you, I said, leaning forward. I won't let this ruin Mom. I've set up a trust fund for her, enough to keep her comfortable for the rest of her life. Mom looked up, her eyes filled with relief. Thank you, Michael, she whispered. As for you, Dad, I continued, my voice hardening, you'll get nothing from me. You can keep whatever scraps you have left from James's schemes, but don't expect another dime. You made your choice when you chose James over integrity. Now, you'll live with it. Dad's face crumpled, but he nodded slowly, knowing there was no argument he could make. As they left the office, Mom paused at the door. Michael, she said softly, I'm sorry for everything. Truly, I am. I didn't respond, just gave her a curt nod. Some wounds take more than words to heal. After they left, Sarah walked in, carrying a folder. The media is requesting a statement about Foster Technologies, she said. I opened the folder, scanning the draft statement. Then, I grabbed a pen and added a final line. Foster Innovation Labs is committed to a future of integrity, growth, and respect, values that were long overdue. Send it, I said, handing it back. As Sarah left, I leaned back in my chair, looking out the window of my new office. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my life, my work, and my future. Revenge had been satisfying, but what mattered more was the chance to start fresh, to build something better, free of the toxicity that had plagued me for so long. Sometimes, you don't just rebuild, you rise higher than ever before. When you let James take credit for my work, was I family? When you fired me in front of the entire company, was I family? I slid a folder across the desk, relishing the impact of documentation. Dramatic revelations are more effective when backed by proof. Here's what's going to happen. I said. Foster Innovation Labs will buy back your shares in Foster Technologies at their original purchase price. Their eyes widened with hope, but I wasn't finished. There are conditions. First, you'll both sign a non-disclosure agreement about James's activities. Second, you'll retire quietly to that house in Florida you always talked about. Third, you'll stay out of my business completely. For us? Mom whispered. Not for you, I corrected. For the scared 12-year-old boy who used to think his father hung the moon. He deserved better than what you gave him. Dad opened his mouth to speak, but I held up a hand. One more thing, the money comes with a trustee, someone to ensure you don't gamble it away on another one of James's schemes. Monthly allowance, investment restrictions, the works. You don't trust us, Dad said bitterly. You taught me that lesson very well. They signed the papers in silence. As security escorted them out, Dad turned back one last time. I was wrong about you, son, he said. You're a better businessman than I ever was. No, I replied, meeting his gaze. I'm just better at remembering who my real enemies are. 5 years have passed. Foster Innovation Labs is now a billion-dollar company, celebrated for cutting-edge technology and ethical practices. James served 2 years in prison and now works as a bartender in Vegas. My parents live quietly in Florida, occasionally sending postcards I never answer. Last week, I received an invitation to speak at my alma mater. The topic? The importance of integrity in family business. I accepted with a smile. After all, I have quite the story to tell. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's building something so successful they must live with the knowledge that they bet on the wrong horse. And for those wondering how the quiet one, the backup plan, achieved such a complete victory. While the peacocks show off their feathers, the eagles watch, wait, and plan, because in business, as in life, it's not about who starts at the top, it's about who's still standing when the dust settles.